Unsyndicated presents Off the Board, the weekly gambling show. Hosted by Majchrzak and Mike Iavasile.
Good morning.
How are you, Blake? You awake?
I'm a little sleepy today. Good morning. Good morning. Normally, obviously, we're on a Thursday or a Friday evening, but a Saturday morning pod for everyone out there in gambling land.
And this is the time to do it. I mean, we've got about 18 bowl games today. We got NFL games today. We're just on a run. There's all types of stuff to bet on, so we might as well give our picks out, right?
Yeah. First of all, before we even get into that, though, did you have a good Christmas?
I had a great Christmas. Both of my children were home. So as chaotic as the house was, it was great to have everybody together, and I think Santa was very good to them. How about you?
It was good. It was okay. So, just real quick. So I told everyone, like family-wise, everything, all I wanted for Christmas, all I wanted was a grill. That's it.
Ooh.
I need a new grill bad.
Love it.
I didn't get a new grill.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, now I have to buy a new grill. Mine is like legitimately like rusting out at the bottom.
Oh, Michigan does that to grills. You go through them unless it's undercover, right?
Mine was even, I had a cover on it.
Well, I mean like under a roof. Roof.
Yeah.
Covers only last so long. Blake, I've been in this house 20 years. And I think I'm on my 5th grill.
Yeah.
Michigan weather just beats it. The only thing that saved this one is I've got a covered deck, part of it screened in where I watch the football games and stuff. So during the winter, I bring the grills in there, and I think that saved them and adds a couple of years to their lives. But other than that, Michigan kills them.
So if I like brought my grill in the winter, that'll help, right?
Yes. If you have a spot to put it and not kill everybody while you're using it.
I just wouldn't be able to use it. It'd have to go in the garage.
All right. Well, you open the door. You can still use it. You got a grill. Just because it's winter doesn't mean you don't grill.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a little bit tougher, and it adds to the game of trying to keep that temperature of that grill going while you've got 10 below zero. Degree outside.
Well, mine, the one burner is so messed up that like it's just constantly on high no matter what. So I don't have to worry about the temp. That thing's roaring.
So it is like you are an underdog going in against your grill every time. That grill's just got the great defense of the one all-star burner that pops up and burns all your meat.
I've had issues with this grill since I got it, and it's just like everything sticks to it unless I Pam it like right before. I tried seasoning the grates a million times. The burner's messed up, everything. It's a nightmare.
I think it's time for that one to retire.
Yeah.
You need to bring in your Jaden Daniels, Blake. Let's go.
We didn't even have picks for the Christmas Day games, though. Speaking of Christmas, how did you do on those? Did you have anything on either of them?
I stayed away. Everything, the numbers were a little bit too wonky for me. And one thing that, like, as you know, I'm on just an incredible losing streak. Like over the last 4 weeks, I've gone from hitting 57% of my games to where I'm just above breaking even. I'm barely a plus gambler right now at 53%. And what happened on Christmas Day, as you know, and you've heard me say on the show a lot, you get these big games. Sometimes the popular side ends up with the sharp side. I have always been very strict on sharp side. As soon as it gets popular, even if there's a sharp split, I back off. Mm-hmm. Both those unders were Pro and Joe, where the pros were on it. It was moving that way. But the popular side also jumped on some of it. I've actually added that to one of my criteria, and I'm going to start it this week to where I'm not afraid of those games. As long as there's a good enough split there that shows me that there's a sharp liability, I'll take them. But I should have been on both those unders, but I shied away because of the popular side.
Yeah, I took the Ravens Texans under, and then I took the Steelers plus the points.
You took Tomlin. You didn't take the Steelers. You took Tomlin.
But also, I mean, the Chiefs against the spread this year have been so bad. So it was like a double, and it didn't work out.
Wow.
I think betting against the Chiefs is over.
Betting against Mahomes. Because we had their last game in it, right? It was on one of our show bets, and I said every time I'm
that
over
Saturday
this year.
game. Yeah. I'm done.
Yeah.
Nope. They're back. Their offense is like so close to being elite again, and they're gonna start putting up points and everything. It's gonna be.
Yeah. I would say if you go back, and again, you've got a better memory than me. I think it was their first Super Bowl that they won, and everyone questioned their line. And then during the playoffs and into that Super Bowl, their line came together. And this is very similar. If this line comes together and they protect Patrick Mahomes and give him a little bit of time, a little bit of protection, or just a second so he can have one of those Patrick Mahomes 15-yard runs, which he has every freaking game, watch out. Can we say they're sneaky at 15-1?
No. Who's the betting favorite right now?
Isn't it still the Lions?
Super Bowl champ.
Is it still the Lions? Okay. I mean, it's because it would have been Philadelphia and Buffalo, but they've both slowed down. I've tried to not click on the futures page, Blake, because I walk away from the futures page $100 lighter every fucking time.
And I'm making you go there right now.
I have so many stinking, like I get shocked every time.
No, they're the favorites, plus 360.
What in the world is this? Oh, I just see CH, so it's the Chiefs. Yeah, plus 375 at MGM. Lions are 400. Yep. Bills. The Eagles dropped the 600. I think if people like the Eagles, if they drop because they think this hurts things actually going to hurt them, that they should jump on that.
He's got concussion.
Yeah.
He'll be back next week.
They lost last week. He couldn't get back in the game. And last week basically removed them from the number one.
Well, it did.
Because Minnesota's got the advantage on them. Detroit would have the advantage on them. So why bring them back? But I mean, I do. That would be a nice one. I might have some in there. But I was saying, every time I open up my apps and I hit my bets just to see, what I've been doing, I am surprised that I still have like 30 bets in one. And I'm like, why do I have so many bets? Have they not cashed? I have so many stinking futures. I can't go to futures pages. I fall in love with stuff like the Eagles at 6-1. Come on.
Minnesota 11-1. It's not bad. They could be the 1 seed.
100%. And they are. I talked about this last week. I don't know if I've seen a more disrespected team, especially on the point spread, going along. Like everyone is waiting for Darnold to fall on his face. I can't disagree with that. But look what they're doing. He is getting coached up. Guy's going to win Coach of the Year.
He should.
Yeah. I mean.
And it helps when you have 2 first-round receivers and one of the 2 best receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, they just see. Here's the thing: they tiptoe that line just like Kansas City does. They play a lot of close games, a lot of one-possession games. I don't know if they're ready for a one-possession game in the playoffs like Kansas City is. Like they're on a similar path with the way they cover. I just can't put them on that level. If you play that close of a game, it's going to fall. And that happened to them, 2 years ago? They played a lot of close games. They made the playoffs, lost in the first round at home, if I'm not mistaken, to the Giants.
Yes.
So that's very similar. I think a lot of people are seeing that. That's why that 11-1 number's out.
Yeah. All right. And then one last thing before we get into last week's results, and it kind of matches that. What did you think of the first round of the playoff? I know that you were you had some thoughts. You were kind of upset with some things.
You know me. I'm fiery at first and I back off, but I do. Do I have a problem with it? Yes. Do I hate it? No. But the one thing I had written down here was, what changes have to be made in your mind? Me and you have had this conversation and sent press clips back and forth, and I think we're on the same side, but the opposite side of that same side, if that makes sense. You know what I loved about it, Blake? I loved the home game.
Yes.
Those crowds were incredible. Absolutely loved it. What I hate is what's coming. You can't have your number one team in the country and your undefeated team playing Ohio State. You can't have two teams that got first round buys be double-digit dogs.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a good look. And that gets into the one conversation we had about the spirit of the game, I think is what you call like the wins and making sure wins and having Indiana in there and stuff. So a couple of questions. One of them to you is, does Boise State and ASU have to show up and at least keep the games close to save the NCAA's face?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they're going to either. I mean, I think both those teams get blown out.
Yeah.
But it's just like, from my opinion, there were so many, and I'm not saying this to you or saying this to anyone in particular. There's so many casual college football fans out there, though, that were complaining about the blowouts. And first of all, this isn't something new. Like the 14 playoff, we saw blowouts more often than not. I don't have
almost every game,
but yeah, there was a lot of blowouts. First of all, second of all, I would argue that this format actually made the regular season better than it's ever been.
Okay.
Because there was games that mattered so much later in the season, and it changed so much about like that Oklahoma beating Alabama game. Like that knocked Alabama out of the playoff. That game Alabama would have already been out of the playoff if, last year. But so it makes more games matter, in my opinion.
And I agree. Looking at it that way, it makes more of the regular season games. How do we make the conference championships mean more? And I've been thinking about this because I just don't like the thought of teams going in and no matter what they're in, like a Penn State. It didn't matter if Penn State won or lost. It didn't matter if Oregon won or lost.
No, if anything, it helped Penn State to lose.
Yes, 100%. So it kind of took the shine off of that. And I'm looking at there's going to be changes. We know that. There's going to be seedings. They're going to try. If they don't make these changes, we can revisit this conversation. And I do think there's going to be some black eyes. But if they make the changes, how about these crazy ideas that just come to my head as I sit awake at night? Blake, do you think they would never do this? How about having two of the best handicappers around, betting handicappers, like a Chris Andrews from South Point, to name one, on that committee to give their power rankings to what the top 12 are, and not for betting purposes, but those they get it right more than they get it wrong as far as where teams should be, and I think that is huge. And then they would never do this, but take away any automatic bids. I don't care what you do.
I think I like automatic bids though, because like that goes back to what you were saying with the conference championship games mattering. Like if you keep conference championship games, make that an auto bid. If not, then just get rid of conference championships too.
If you have a conference championship and nothing's guaranteed, you have to win that game to better your chance to getting in. It's one and the other. It's things like crazy things I think we look at sometimes, but it's just what might be needed. Something in that. They would never do that. They make too much money off these things. But there's some things that they have to change, because what we're looking at right now, where again, it's the similar where we're going to have some blowouts. I just don't like the look of it, the optics of it. And I would like some changes, obviously, to be in there. Like I said, I think me and you are on the same path, a little bit skewed on the outside of it. And that's what makes it great.
I want more home games.
I wouldn't mind that.
I want this round to be at home too. I know that they would never do it because the bowl games have so much power in the sport of college football, but I would love, like, the fact that Boise State had this incredible season and they're probably going to get their doors blown off in their first playoff game, but like they should have a home game. Arizona State, the season that they had, picked to be dead last in the Big 12 to make the playoff. Like, they should have a home game. It would be incredible.
It would make this round. It would make my complaints about this round a little bit less, because the games would be a little bit tighter. They would be viewed a little bit
I think
they'd
be a little more interesting. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But would they do that? Now, Blake, are they going to go to 16?
I hope not. I like the buys.
Okay, I'm glad. I think
it adds like something to it. They'll end up going to 16, but it's just going to end up like we're going to get more, like it's just going to be all blowouts in the first round. And I agree with you. I didn't think I would want reseeding. I want reseeding.
Yes.
Like, I think that no guaranteed buys for conference champs. Conference champs, like you could say, are guaranteed a home game if you wanted that, or like guaranteed a home game or a bye, one of the two. So like if you're a Boise State, you would be guaranteed a home game in the first round, but you wouldn't be guaranteed a bye. If you're Arizona State, you would be guaranteed a home game, not a bye. I think that would be good. But I think that I like the bye system, and I think that it like rewards winning.
Yeah. It's going to be, and that's what you're, I know that's some of our back and forth about winning in the game, and you want it to mean something. And I get that. I like, again, I didn't think I'd like 12 as much as I did. I loved 8. I would have loved it to be at 8. Back to the original point you made, we don't want to get too stuck on this, where we had just 4 teams and we had blowouts. The further we get away from those 4 teams, I think the worse the look is going to be.
Yes.
And it's going to, but we know they don't care about look because they can cover their eyes in money. And as long as there's money that's there, and then once they set it in stone and we just have to accept what it is, then we have to take, I hope we, like me and you are on the NCAA committee here, they have to take a look at some way to make the bowl games better. This is atrocious, and it breaks my heart, because bowl games was something I looked forward to every year. Every year I have a party on New Year's Day. It always looks a little bit different with the BCS and the way they kind of do things, what New Year's Day looked like. But New Year's Day was sacred to me. Not because of the day, but because of the bowl games and the matchups that you would get. They have to bring that back. We're never going to have the names with the playoff, right? We may not have all the brands. We've got enough of them, but something to keep kids out of the portal. Me and you had this conversation. I think it's for another day. Let's get the playoffs fixed first.
Yeah. All right. And then let's review these first round playoff games real quick. We'll go through these and last week's NFL games. Like I said, we didn't do picks for the Christmas Day games. Just we didn't have enough room, and it was so far out. There were still games before it, so it just didn't make sense for us to do that. Any of these games, though, you know what? I said on last week's show that I thought that Texas Clemson game would be the most, like, it was going to be closer, and that was the closest game. Really? I mean, that Notre Dame, I know Indiana pulled it within 10. That game was not that close. Signetti is a coward. and he just did everything he could to make that score not as bad as it was. But that Texas Clemson game was probably the closest game of the weekend.
Yeah, and you can see by all the red lighting up my side here. This also gets into some of the losing that I've been doing. Just to go through, I mean, the first two games, that Notre Dame game and the Penn State game, was 100% not how I seen it ended up happening, obviously. And it's one that I always speak to. You can't take the human element out of games. And Kurt Signetti showed that one in the first game. That was, I know I was blowing your phone up. Like that was just atrocious. Then the Penn State game, I'm more understanding to it. The quarterback lost it on 4 plays. 4 straight possessions that changed that game 100%.
You can't cover your ears in front of 110,000 people and not expect them to yell louder.
Right.
You're done.
And as soon as as soon as I seen that, I was like, uh-oh. Because he was on did you see him on the pregame?
Oh, freezing. He was blowing on his hands. He was so cold that I knew. I was like, this kid's done. See,
and I looked at him like, okay, the presence is there. He was calm. He was talking. Here we go. As soon as I saw him covering his ears, but the 4 plays, not running for the first down, throwing the interception, those 4 plays right in a row, 4 possessions right in a row, kind of ruined that game. And then Texas, the Texas game, I'm glad I got the Texas side out of that, or that would be all red, even with the NFL there. But what did you think? I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but what did you think about that 4th down call and bringing in Arch at that point?
I was at a Christmas party, so I was not locked in on this game. I didn't see all of it.
I was driving, Blake, so I shouldn't have been locked into this game, but I was locked into this game. And first of all, it was a first down. They reviewed it, and it was a first down. And the refs decided, hey, inconclusive, whatever, I get it. 4th and inches. Just hand the ball off to Ewers. Go forward. This game is over. Mm-hmm. They brought in Arch Manning, who fumbled the snap.
Oh, no.
So I lost my mind, because then they're going to go into a prevent defense, which they did. I turned the game off of my phone. Not that I was watching. I was listening. I was a safe driver. And I just thought they were going to score. My son was laughing in the background as they ended up winning the game, because I was so livid about the way that game was going to end. But again, that human element of things was all over these games. And then I think the Ohio State game was actually, it shocked me at how Tennessee came out. But
yeah, me too.
It was about as normal as possible. But it was just funny. All they were talking about was Tennessee's takeover of Columbus. And wow, did they just get stomped.
Ryan Day saved his job. It's a real shame. I'm so upset to have him back on the sideline. It's a real shame.
You in Portnoy, huh?
He's whatever. He can keep winning. Just don't win an Natty.
Yeah.
Keep winning. Keep your job. It's great. He's a mental midget against Michigan, so it doesn't matter. Like, that was the offense, though, that they should have been running. Again, they would have smoked Michigan. Yeah. I'll be the first to admit that. They would have smoked Michigan if they were actually throwing to their receivers outside.
Yeah.
That's all they had to do.
It was the conspiracy theorist in me was just saying they sandbagged that Michigan game to do this, to shock. Now no one knows what to do. They're going to be running around. It's not true, but it's just one of those watch it. You're like, wait, how can this happen? How? But then that gets into the mental midget against Michigan theory.
Yep. So, yeah, there's going to be blowouts. There's going to keep being blowouts. Even if they fix the seeding stuff like we've talked about, there's still going to be some blowouts.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
There's not that. Now, we've been talking all year about the parity in NCAA football. The parity in NCAA football gets the dogs closer point spread wise. It doesn't get them in the same class. Yes. I think some people are mistaken some of that. Like there's just not. That's why my fear of 16 games. There's just never There's never been 16 quality teams in the NCAA football to deserve a playoff like that. But again, it's going to make money, so we'll see it soon.
And we'll never see like everyone wants to see Cinderellas like we do in March Madness, like go to the Final Four. It's never going to happen.
No. And that's
they might win a game.
Yes. You can scheme a game. You can get a good effort. But when it comes down to it, it's something that you say a lot, Blake, is there's just more athletes as you get down the line, and the depth is going to kill you every time.
And then just to review the NFL games from last week real quick.
Yeah.
And see that record. I got to see that.
Yeah, there's not much to see here, Blake. I told you, I think I sent you a text. I don't know how long ago it was, is that I was in rehab. I was in under rehab. And
by the way, sorry, I just noticed something. I lost Philly. So I'm right at 500 again.
Oh, that takes our celebration away.
I'm right at 500.
Well, now that'll put you under.
Will it?
Yeah, because you record? So you were 51-50, but now you'll be 50-51, right?
I think honesty is the best policy.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
I am under 500, and that's fine.
And I did all my write-ups, and I don't think I'm on as many unders this year. And I wore my "It's not under till it's over" T-shirt here. I'm trying to turn the corner on my under run, but that was just all. I mean, they weren't close. I wasn't sweating anything.
It was a heavy over week though too.
I wasn't sweating anything.
Yeah.
Oh boy. That sweep this away. Get this out of here. There's nothing to talk about.
These games feel like it's funny because the playoff games don't feel as long ago as these two. These NFL games feel like they were a month ago.
Yeah, well,
we saw Christmas Day, we saw Thursday night football.
Yeah. Some terrible football, by the way, on all those games. But anyways, this is a new week.
How much of Thursday night football did you watch this week? The Bears game,
the Thursday night game. I know I turned it on. I remember wherever I was looking for Amazon. Oh, I was at I actually watched quite a bit of it because I was at a holiday gathering with my friends, and we had it up behind the bar. So I can't say that I was locked in on it, but yeah, I got to see enough of it to see that it was terrible.
Thank God we don't have to see the Bears in primetime anymore.
Right?
That's horrible.
What a disappointment.
All right. Let me see it. I know I'm not 500 anymore. Oh, there we go. 498. Damn it. One game under.
Look at that. Man. Wasn't I like right at 500 like 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Let's just take a deep breath and let's dive right into this because you got to rip that Band-Aid off and we just got to jump right into these and hopefully the tides change. I feel good, Blake, 'cause I think I'm on some of the same picks as you.
Yes, you are. I noticed that. It's either good for you or bad for me, one of the two.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. Someone should be very scared here. But I think that gets into, like I was saying, I don't know if I have to, but I'm going to look at this because this week is the first week I'm really going with that Pro and Joe side. And that really is where you end up a lot of times. And I always viewed it as that popular side, even if there was a split there. And what you've shown with your winning in the way you're going right now is that Pro and Joe side isn't that bad. It's really working out. It's something you have to take a look at. You have to respect the money that's there. And again, I've always said it. Your knowledge on the game of football is good. And
I feel like late in the season, it works out. Late in the season, it's good.
And you can't avoid it in times like this. Cause like you said, be it bowl games, be it the playoff, be it as the people are on vacation, people are betting. Mm-hmm. So that public side's always going to be there somewhere. You sometimes you just have to embrace it.
Yes. All right. So first game of the playoff, round 2, Penn State, Boise State. Penn State is 10.5-point favorites. Over under here at 52.5. I'm going to take Penn State. I'm going to take the heavy favorite, and I'm also going to take the over. I do think Boise State will be able to move the ball a little bit. I don't think Genty's going to have a big day running the football. Penn State has a top 10 run defense, and they're, it's not like we only have a couple points of data this season on them. Like, they've played a full season. They have a very good rush defense.
Yeah.
I think hitting Genty on some screens and some stuff out of the backfield will be big for them, and I think that we'll be able to do some of that stuff. I just don't know how Boise State covers like Tyler Warren, and I do like Boise's D-line more than I like SMU's D-line, but I still think Penn State's offensive line can handle them. So I think it could be a higher scoring game, but obviously with the over, I think that. But I love Penn State here. I think that they're just going to dominate.
And this starts the run of me and you being on the same side. So I'm looking at some player props on this one too. I think I sent you one of them, but well, I'll get to that in a second. So let's just take a look at what everyone sees here. Penn State just took care of SMU easily, covering that as a 9.5. However, the public knows Boise State comes in with an 11-game winning streak with Ashton Genty, the best rusher, in the country, the number 4 ranked offense in the country. They also know Big Game James, right? That's what the public's looking at here. And they've got 59% of the bets are on Boise State. They're a very popular dog right now. However, this line opened at 10.5. It remains frozen at 10.5. I'm going to take that sharp line freeze. I'm on it with you. I'm on with Blake and Big Game James. Give me Penn State.
Big Game James.
Big Game James. So I got into a conversation at that holiday party I was just at because someone was using that term, and I said, I need a breakdown, and I'm sure we can find it, Blake, with a little bit of research of Big Game James' record as a dog in those big games versus as a favorite in those big games. So I know I pulled up a trend at one point for us, and I want to say he was like, I don't know, 11-4 as a favorite in those games. Yeah. I think it really matters when you're going in and playing Ohio State or Michigan as an underdog. You're going to lose more than you're going to win.
Yeah.
When he goes in as a favorite, I don't know about his record as a big favorite. It's something to be looked at. So I don't know if he's earned a lot of names that I'm sure he gets, but I don't know about that one. The player prop, Blake, I sent to you.
Mm-hmm.
Genty, 200 yards was 6-1. I think that's a reach. And I was waiting for the numbers to come out, and I just pulled some up because I do believe, if anything, Boise State's going to push for him to get the record to beat Barry Sanders, right? And I think it's 132 yards, if I'm not mistaken.
It's such a BS record. He's played in like 3 extra games.
I got you. How about Genty, 129 or more yards at a -115?
I'd still take under. I think he's seriously going to struggle to get 100.
Okay.
Because Penn State's not scared of anything else on this team.
So
they don't give up explosive runs.
So now this is just a test, and this gets into the next game we're going to talk about. Do you have the same feeling in the next game about Skidaboo?
I mean, Texas's defense, and we can get into it. Texas is favored by 13.5 over Arizona State. Over under here 52. Texas's defense is just is really good. I mean, they held Clemson to less than 100 yards rushing last game.
Yep.
And I know that Phil Maffa was hurt going into that game, but still, they shut them down. I feel like Scadabo, though, could actually do some more because Arizona State's going to have to throw the ball to win this game. I don't know. I think both these teams are just going to get smoked.
I'm on the same side with you. I'm 100% on the same side. And I would be more just me. I think Genty has a way better day than what Scadaboo and just the whole Arizona State team from my eyes sees, but we know what my eyes have seen lately, which is a bunch of losses. So I just think this is an overrated team.
Yeah. It's your pick though for this.
It's my pick. All right. I'm actually going on a side and a total here, Blake. So last we saw, Texas barely held on to cover last week at home, and the public knows the whole miracle story about Arizona State, and they love a story, and they love Scadaboo, right? The bettors are split on this. They don't know whether to take the points with ASU, the Sun Devils, or lay the points with the mighty Longhorns. Despite this split, this line hasn't moved. So it's a game that I would actually stay over. I think it's just no one knows what's going to happen in this game. They love what they've seen out of Arizona State, but everyone also remembers that this was the team picked to be last in their division, the worst coach in their division, in their conference. So they don't know what to do. In the end, I love the Longhorns. I said it on the show last week. I may be looking at some alt spreads on here. Everyone looked at that Arizona State, Iowa State game and fell in love again. Like, oh my God, look at this team. They're so good. I thought that was one of the worst performances I've ever seen out of a college football team in Iowa State. They didn't make one tackle. If they made 4 tackles, I said Scadaboo would have not even got 40 yards rushing. Texas makes those tackles. Give me Texas minus 13.5. On the totals, here we go, Blake. It's a Pro and Joe total. The pros and Joes have jumped on this total. I don't like that it dropped a little bit from 52.5 to 52, but I'm going with the new Mike theory. I'm taking the the Pro and Joe split, and I'm going over 52.5.
I have the exact same 2 picks. I think that a big thing for this game too will be Texas's offensive line against the Arizona State defensive line. If Arizona State can create any pressure, any at all, I think that would be a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it could be. There's always a story. This is that Cinderella story, Blake, that everyone's waiting for. I think this one comes crashing down hard. All stories come to an end.
Yes. Now these 2 games I think are both going to be bangers. Like I'm very
This is what we wanted
for
right?
These 2 football games. Oregon, Ohio State. Ohio State is favored by 2.5. Over under here of 55.5. We saw this game earlier this year. It was a banger the first time. Probably the best or second best, depending on your taste. One of the best college football games of the season. It's either this or the Alabama Georgia game. Yes. I mean, that game was cinema. Yeah. But these 2 teams, they're very closely matched, skill wise, everything. And in the first matchup, even at home, Oregon, I think, was getting 1.5. I want to say in the first matchup. I'm going to take Oregon plus the 2.5. I think that they're the better team. I think that their receivers will again expose Ohio State's DBs, and it's one of the few teams that Ohio State has faced this year that can truly do that to them. Mm-hmm. And I'm also going to take the over. Big game overs. I think this is going to be a shootout, back and forth, just banger. Oregon's defense is going to give some stuff up. We saw that in the Penn State game. We saw that in the first version of the Ohio State game. We saw that all the way going back to the Boise State game.
Yep.
And if Ohio State can run the ball on this Oregon team, they should be able to. Oregon is susceptible to the run. So
I gotcha. And unfortunately, I can't get with you on this over, though, the numbers, because, Blake, the numbers are just ridiculous on the over. You're talking like 95% of the bets, 97% of the money. So I did get off of that one. However, I'm going with the side here, and I'm going to go against you. Ohio State easily covered a 7.5 faves against Tennessee and looked like the Ohio State team that everyone wanted. Oregon's the number one team in the country and undefeated. The public's looking at the number. That doesn't say the number one team should be favored. The wrong team's favored. Honestly, it shocked me. I think me and you were talking. When I was thinking of taking Ohio State in this game, I thought I'd be taking them as a dog. I'm not. With 58% of the bets on Oregon, this line opened 1.5 and moved up to 2.5. I'm going to take that sharp line move and a shocking line spread. I'm taking Ohio State minus the 2.5. I just think what we're going to see here is what does that week off get you? We see what it does in baseball. It's a big thing in the playoffs. They talk about that extra rest time kind of sets you back a little bit. If you think that rest is going to hurt Oregon, but not necessarily have them lose, maybe even looking at a first quarter, taking Ohio State in the first quarter to win the first quarter would be a nice look. But we'll see how that is. And actually, it just hit me, Blake, as we were sitting here. Me and you are salivating over these last two games. But the other side of the people that I don't care much about, they get their stories and their Cinderellas in the first two. So who knows? Maybe the NCAA thinks they got it right, and this is what we're going to continue to see, right? 2 Cinderellas, 2 just dominant games that we want to see.
Yeah. All right, and the last one for the playoff here is Notre Dame, Georgia. Georgia is favored by 1.5. Over under here of 45.5. Mike, you go ahead and start us out on this one.
Well, some things die hard here, Blake. I'm going with the total here. I'm going with the typical Mike pick here because the public's looking at these two teams. They average over 61 points a game with 2 top 50 offenses in the country. In the last 5 weeks, these teams themselves have scored 49, 49, 44, 59, and 52. This is one where the public's looking at an easy over. However, despite 68% of those bets at one book and a whopping 83% of books at another one that I look at, this total opened 44.5 and it hasn't budged. In real terms, that line should be diving towards going totally up, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I'm taking that sharp line freeze and I'm taking under 44.5.
I'm right there with you. I don't know what to think of Georgia without their quarterback, and I don't know if I can trust their backup. First of all, I don't trust Georgia's run game at all, and that's the scary part. But I trust Georgia's defense for the most part.
Yes,
for the most part. They have some doy moments, obviously, like that Bama game that we were just talking about. Notre Dame's defense is I think going to make some plays and it's a good matchup for them. I just don't see these two teams scoring a lot. I just don't. So I like this under. I also am shocked that Georgia's favored in this game. We talked about it with the last game with the Ohio State game. Yes. I'm shocked, but it is Georgia. So, yeah. But this did shift, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. This shifted from one total to the other.
Okay. And that's usually you're all about that.
Yes. Well, yeah. The dog pay. So, but it's going to depend on where you look. So I went back. So I'm like, that would be one I would be on. This had this opening Georgia -1 because again, this was another one me and you were talking about on the side, and I said this is going to open up, probably 1.5 Notre Dame, and that's going to tick. And I said that's going to get all the way up to Notre Dame favored by 3, and that's when I'm going to just be all over Georgia. And again, what do I know? So.
Do you have any other, real quick while we're on college, do you have any other bowl game plays or anything? I like Miami today.
I've learned my lesson, Blake. I can't do that. I cannot do it again where I text you and I'm like, hey, look at what I got. And then you text me a picture of the quarterback that's opting out 5 minutes before a game. And last one, well, that was awful. Like no one knew what was going on. And he came in and covered for a couple of plays when the guy was out. So could he have played? What was going on with that? Luckily, I covered that game. I've learned my lesson with bowl games. I'm staying out.
Also, I think it's very funny that BYU and Colorado are playing in a bowl game when they're both in the Big 12. I didn't realize that. I thought that it was Miami in Colorado, which would have been like awesome to see. Just Shadur and Cam Ward just going back and forth. But do you know why that is? Why BYU and Colorado are playing in a bowl game?
Go for it. I've got no clue. You know me.
The bowl like because of conference affiliations, the Pac-12 still has to fill those bowl games. So they're like somehow it's old conference affiliations still count for bowl affiliations for like so many years.
That's funny.
It's so confusing, but yeah, that's why. So like Colorado is technically the Pac-12 representative for a bowl game against a Big 12 team when they're both in the Big 12. There's another game that's like that too. So yeah, that's why. Whatever. That's just nerdy Blake stuff, you know.
But that's the stuff I love. I need that because I just skip right through shit.
Yeah. So on to the NFL real quick. Todd, do you just want to put these up there and we'll just go through them? Just put them up there. Put all the games up there and everything, and we can kind of talk through these as we go. Todd's got fatherly duties to take care of.
I've got some duties that are not fatherly.
So, I misread who said that. Oh man, the private chat. Oh man,
what happens in the private chat stays in the private chat.
Yes, Denver at Cincinnati. Cincy's favored by 3.5. We're both on the same side here. We both love Cincy and the over. I think Joe Burrow is going to do everything he can to keep their playoff hopes alive. So
I agree. These are actually two bets that I have in my account. I got better numbers, but it doesn't matter when you're looking at the total in this one. It's just going to be a pro in Joe's side because everyone has to be on any Cincinnati over. These two teams can score, and Cincinnati's defense is that bad. Their offense is that good, and I just the 3.5, given that 3.5, I don't know, but I've got to go with that split, man. Sharps are kind of on Cincinnati. They like that they're still in that hunt, that they can make this, and this is when Cincinnati makes their run. So I like both those.
Yeah. Dallas at Philly, obviously the Hurts news like we talked about earlier in the show. I still like the over. I don't think Kenny Pickett's horrible. I think they'll be able to move the ball. And Dallas has looked good recently. So
yeah. Dallas is playing for something. They're playing for their coach. They're playing for whomever. I just don't know on the over. The only reason I didn't get on that over was because I think that this is going to be a Barkley game, though I do agree with you. Pickett's not awful. He's got experience. I think you take a quarterback like that and you throw him in the situation, not expecting to play against a team on the road, right, in Washington, that he's going to struggle. Give him a week, give him some time to prepare. I think he will be better.
Yeah.
And this line opened up at 7.5 and got bet up. I think it was as high as 10. And as soon as this news came out, it went all the way down to 6.5. And the Sharps hammered it with 32% of the bets and 62% of the money. And it moved it back up to 7.5. So it's a wonky way of me looking at this game being the Sharp side, but I think the Sharps are on Philly at this low of a number, even with Kenny Pickett. So yeah, I'm on it with Philly.
And then for the Green Bay, Minnesota, I want Minnesota, Detroit last week to
mean something.
Right. I want it to mean everything.
Yes,
because literally it will mean either the 1 seed playing at home through the playoffs, you get a bye, or you're the 5 seed and you're going on the road. Like,
yeah.
I want that. I want it to mean everything. So, and that obviously ties in with my Detroit pick. And I just think that San Fran is absolutely dead. So,
and to get through both those, I agree with you. I'd love to see that Minnesota-Detroit game mean something. I love watching meaningful football. I just think LaFleur is a late season coach. He doesn't seem to lose in the late season. Green Bay's really coming on. I know Minnesota's hot with 8 wins in a row, but again, as we talked about before, I just think they're real close. Those one possession games. The public is on Minnesota. They saw what happened last time. Minnesota stormed out to I don't remember, it was 28-0 lead. I just think Minnesota's hot, and the sharp side is going to be Green Bay. That line opened 2. That line moved down to 1.5. So I like Green Bay in that one. Down to the Detroit bet. The only reason, there's 2 reasons I have San Francisco. One of them is to be kind to Detroit fans. I'm on such a losing streak that I feel by me taking San Francisco here, it opens up Detroit to get that revenge win like I was trying to say they were going to get on Thanksgiving Day. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to jinx it. But my real thoughts on this are, and it has nothing to do with sharp sides or anything like this. This is a game that the numbers are all over the place. I couldn't read the numbers, is that Detroit's defense could be just what San Francisco needs to get their offensive started. They're not as bad as they look. They are falling apart. The whole thing could be falling apart. And they've had the last 2, they lost to Miami and they lost to the Rams, and just looked like their offense looked like garbage. My thoughts on that 3.5 is their offense is better than they're showing. Detroit's defense obviously is decimated, that they can keep this within a field goal.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of points scored. I just don't know. I'm just worried about San Fran's give up factor.
100%, and that's
they
the
know
side.
They're out. And have you seen that stat that's been going around too? In the last 22 years, San Francisco has either missed the playoffs or made it to the NFC Championship game. There's no in between.
Wow.
That's it.
Wait, no, that can't be. They've never lost before the NFC Championship in the last
22 years. Yeah.
Well, then again, I could be thinking I act like I'm only 30 years old or something like that. Like I'm kind of old. There was a lot of San Francisco time before.
No, but I mean, think about the Kaepernick team. They made it obviously to the Super Bowl and lost. With Alex Smith, I think they made it. Yeah.
They went in and they upset Green Bay in Green Bay just a couple of years ago. That was a NFC Championship team.
Yeah.
Who's that? I can't. I'm in a loss for that quarterback's name. San Francisco's quarterback. So Garoppolo.
Yeah, Jimmy G.
Garoppolo was the quarterback. That's crazy. And your thoughts on this Atlanta-Washington game?
I have no clue. Washington's so inconsistent. Atlanta's offense looked better with Penix. I just think Kirk should have sat out this year. The Achilles and everything clearly was still bugging him. I'm just gonna take the dog because I have so many favorites. That was my other thought on this. A lot of favorites. Need a dog.
Yeah, and according to numbers, Blake, we're on the right side here. We've got 76% of the bets at one book, 67 on another, going with that obvious Washington pick, right? Line opened at 5, moved to 3.5. We're on the right side. We got the low end of the number, but that's all right. I think Atlanta, and again, when we're looking at it, Atlanta has to keep winning to have anything to do with the playoffs and that division. They might have a little bit more. We're going to see, but rookie quarterbacks aren't as bad as people would think. Now, I think late in the year, we're getting in the rookie quarterbacks that may have been playing all year, not in their second game, but they did. They looked a little bit better. I think they're going to be able to control a little bit more of the game. Just hopefully the coach, is that Raheem Morris, right? Doesn't go doy in this game. I don't like this guy. I think he makes bad game decisions, but we'll see. But I'm on it with you, Atlanta 3.5. I can't do worse than I did last week, right?
No, you had a win, right?
So I could go 0 for it. Thanks, Blake. Thanks for shoving that one right.
Hey, I'm below 500 because of my honesty. We're all going through it.
I'm almost below 400. I'm headed that way.
It's a big bounce back week for you.
It is. It's my get right week. I tweaked a few things. You got anything else you're leaning on in the NFL? No.
Honestly, I haven't. You saw what time I sent all this stuff last night, and then I woke up and did this. I haven't looked at anything else yet.
And this is so this time in the NFL really looks like bowl time to me. Like you don't know what you're going to get out of these teams, so I tend to stay away. But I've got a couple stinkers just to take a look at.
I'm gonna put a TD parlay together today. You know that.
Hey, you got to throw me that TD parlay, and let me jump in on some of these wins you get here, and I'll gladly jump in on that. The bigger, the better. And one I just put in my account, the Chargers and Patriots under. I do believe the Patriots are playing for their coach, and I do believe that they're going to show up. The Chargers defense.
He's such a bad coach.
He's hey, but
why are you playing for a guy that stinks?
Hey, Dan Campbell did it. Dan Campbell did it. All these players are going to do it, right? All these player coaches are going to do it. And Drake May looks good. I mean, I'm half thinking of taking the Patriots too if some of these numbers change. Another stinker. I'm looking at the Giants. They just moved from 8 to 7.5. They're getting good sharp splits. The Raiders went from dog to fave. How ugly is this? The Raiders Saints under 38. I'm looking at. I'm just waiting for numbers in another book to come in. The Panthers getting 8. They've moved down to 7. See, the Panthers one I might get off of just because it opened 7.5 and it's at 8. I don't like that line move.
Right?
Yes.
I love the Panthers.
No, it's the Bucks. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, I thought
that last week I think was the Cards. And the Bucks they've got some injuries. They got a couple guys sitting out. That dropped the total down to 48. It was ticking up towards 50. I hate that wrong sideline move, but I may consider it because I still think these teams are going to score some points. And then an even stinkier total, the Dolphins and Browns is down to 37.5. DTR is awful.
We have a what? Oh, it's in Cleveland. So
it's in Cleveland. Yep. So it's a little colder. Yeah. And you're looking at right now. I'm waiting for tomorrow. I'll get game day numbers from the other book. They usually don't come out till game day. But right now, the early numbers had 18% of the bets, but 62% of the money on that under. I don't know what it's going to look like at 37.5. That always changes numbers. But when that was moving, it was a huge, sharp split. So those are just some leans I have. I can't sit here and say I'm as confident as I was before to say that I would recommend any of them. But those are definitely what I'm looking at if people still trust me.
Yeah. I still trust you.
Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Blake.
I've just forced you to pick on a bunch of games you don't want to pick.
No, but what have you done? You've opened my eyes, and I'm starting to change a few things because I think I mentioned this the last couple of weeks when I was changing some things. It's not getting me more wins, but it would definitely get me off some of the losses, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the way, and that's what I'm looking at. It's the human element of thing. You just never know what's going to happen in these games. But if you can kind of come up with something that get you off some losses and I'm going to be told you can't be on every under, but yet those are what the numbers always drive me towards. I've got to get off some of those. So hopefully that's what it's doing. So we're good for each other, Blake.
That's true. We're a match made in heaven.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask you, as you come up with your NFL bets, as you wake up, now that I've gotten you up so early today, send me some of your NFL picks. Send me some of your TD parlays and stuff because I'm
definitely gonna put one together for today for the Saturday games. I'm gonna do a TD parlay. I was looking and I don't like nothing like sticks out to me besides that Bengals game. Rams Cardinals I think will be fun to watch. I just think the Cardinals are so inconsistent. Every time I want to trust the Cardinals, they just shit the bed. And I think the Rams are just good. So I might end up taking the Rams minus the 6.5 at home.
You send me what you're doing. I will take a look at it and decide if I need to do more. But especially that TD parlay. I love your parlays when you send it. Being a part of your action will make my day.
I've gotten to the point where now like 3 of my buddies like text me like, what do you have today? Because I hit so many this year. I'm like,
you've done a great job. And the great thing about those things, like people out there, I don't know if they feel like you have to have $100 on every bet that you put out there to be a better or to be involved. No, you don't. You just have to have action in the game. And some of those numbers that you come up with, you don't have to put shit on them, and you're going to get a return. There's a reason that these parlays, you can't go crazy on these parlays with what you're putting on them. But man, are they fun, huh?
The biggest thing is just not having more than like 4 legs. Anything more than 4, you're getting to a point you're never going to win.
Yeah, and
one will miss. The
higher the odds, you've got to even sharpen it down to like 3 or 2. And you're going to get the same. It just depends on the numbers you're getting. But all right, As you know, I've got an event that's got to take place. And when are we going to go next week?
We'll figure it out. We'll text.
Okay, we'll figure it out. I appreciate it. I await your text, sir. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Todd. And we will see you next week. And thank you for watching and listening. Goodbye.
You've been listening to Off the Board. Tune in all throughout the football season for weekly picks and insights. Subscribe to Unsyndicated and Off the Board on all your favorite social media and podcast platforms.